into stuff?
Yeah, let's make it happen. Okay.
All right.
Let me.
I got my seltzer here, so that'll be exciting.
Excellent. Okay, we are now live.
All right. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Ask the Expert, as I just spilled seltzer on myself here. But at any rate, so today is I'm very, very excited because we have Ben Moss of Compass in Miami. And another title that Ben has is the head of Compass's sports and entertainment division here, which I'm fortunate to be part of as well. So I'm really excited because we're going to talk to Ben about a couple things. We're going to talk about, number one, what's it like to work with sports and entertainment people? How do you treat them? Do you treat them different, the same? What do you look out for? Some of the expertise he has on it. And then the second part of the show, the second 15 minutes is going to be great. We're going to look at actually real life Miami properties, see what's going on in the market, see what's available, entry level, mid-level, and of course, luxury. So Ben, with that, you want to tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got into real estate and how long you've been in it and all that fun stuff?
Yeah, Martin, thanks for having me, first of all. And I'm not in Miami, as you can tell. This is I'm up in Maine right now, so I apologize for any spotty internet connection. I'm in a cabin. And,
good for you.
I love Miami, but getting away from the heat this time of year is a good thing. So, but so it's hard to believe. I just turned 42 last week, and I'm 20 years into real estate at this point. Started off in commercial real estate, doing office leasing, landlord rep, and the residential side for about 15 years now. And then I know we both are part of the sports entertainment division. So that started really. I was at the University of Miami at a fortunate time, really, when a lot of guys were going NFL draft picks, were going in the first round. And was friends with some of those guys, would hang out, but they also knew that I was doing real estate. So I was more investing in properties at the time, like flipping and doing some of those things. So, one relationship led to two, led to three, led to 10, and, the rest is history.
Wow, that's great. That's great. So tell us a little bit, because there's always this mystique with, celebrity in general here. What kind of tips do you have? And I think this is transferable, not only in real estate, but if you're in any kind of sales. What do you have to get a string of Bentleys to take them around in every showing, or what do you have to do?
No, typically not. That's the good thing. But I think what the biggest thing is what any of us already have inside. It's just determination, perseverance. For instance, I had a high profile closing today, and obviously I was here. I didn't go down because of COVID and what's happening right now during these times. So that was a little bit of a problem because I really wanted to be there for the hand holding. I've had to deal with the sports agent, the marketing agent, the financial advisors, the mom, the dad. There's a whole string of people involved in these kind of transactions, especially with a first-time home buyer, high-profile young athlete. And and then there was the father was upset that the light bulbs weren't. A couple light bulbs had burned out, and I said, well, that's a first. So there's just so how do you deal with it? Am I gonna allow that transfer of energy to come to me, or am I gonna try to figure out how to solve it and bring a solution? So I had to kind of figure that out on the fly and say, okay, I acknowledge the concern here. It's a light bulb. Okay, granted. And here's how we're going to fix it. And it's, a very small issue, but for these athletes and celebrities that are used to being coddled, especially, since like middle school and their families too, a light bulb being burnt out is a huge deal apparently. So, it's a little different, as and you have to deal with things and deal without ego and really pay attention to dotting the I's and crossing the T's as much as possible. But there's a lot more people that we have to deal with on that side.
That makes sense. Right. And so I think that's great. It's funny because I just had a closing last week with quote unquote regular people. And I had the light bulb issue as well, because it's always, is it the light bulb or is there an electrical problem? So and surprise, surprise, us glamorous brokers change light bulbs from time to time to make it happen. Now I have a question with you now, and I do a little bit more on the entertainment side, so to speak, and you're more on the sports side. What about quote unquote, finding who the decision maker is or the gatekeeper or something like that? Is it the athlete? Is it the manager? Is it the parents? Is it a combination, or how do you navigate that?
It depends. I just dealt with an NBA, superstar, all-star. The guy's making almost $27 million this year, and he's 24 years old. And he was much more aware, much more in tune, much more responsive than the typical 24-year-old celebrity or star athlete that I'm used to dealing with. I would say, so they're always a little bit different. I dealt with a brother on his side, but no parents, and I dealt with his financial advisor. Um, Typically, as they get older, I deal less and less with people around them,
Okay.
and more with the client themselves. As they get to their second, third contract, getting closer to 30 years of age, that sort of thing, they typically have figured this out and how to deal with things and take responsibility personally. But yeah, definitely the younger ones, for the most part, many times there's a lot of handlers around them. Now, when you
Mm-hmm.
get to football, it's a little bit less because, there's just so many more football players and less people around them in some cases. But when you're talking about a star athlete or high draft pick, you're usually dealing with parents or some sort of family member, as well as like a marketing agent or a sports agent, financial advisor.
Okay, that makes sense. And then, what do you do to relate to them, or how do you build rapport? Do you is one approach, I want to be up on the pop culture and music that they like, so I can talk with them like that, or is your approach a little bit more of I'm a professional and I want to be a person sharing knowledge with them and willing to I guess teach, for lack of a better word. How does your style interact with people like that?
Yeah, I think especially now that I'm a little bit older, since I'm 42 and I'm not really like the same age as them anymore, it's a little bit different. And some of the relationships now are different than the guys that I knew when we were in college together and that sort of thing, obviously. But I think I've always tried to take an approach of teaching and
Mm-hmm.
mentoring, even if we were more or less the same age. And I try to relate to them more just from a level of authenticity, because I know that they have so many people around them. People, in this closing that I had today, the seller brought a box of jerseys and footballs and helmets. The closing agent also did. So I had to tell them ahead of time what the closing agent who I brought in was going to. And so I had to kind of
Wow.
nip that in the bud and make sure that everybody knew up front, this is not happening. And so, I'll ask for client testimonials from some clients here and there
Right.
after a transaction, but I don't
Mm-hmm.
have one autograph. I don't have one signed game jersey. I don't have any of this stuff. And I think that's the approach. Then there's other people in our industry who are promoting themselves all over social media. And the problem is they flame out. The financial advisors, the business managers, they see this stuff and they say, I don't want my client, or the teams, I don't want my client associated with that kind of realtor. And so I think it's really just, put our nose down, be of service, relate to them as a human being, and coming from a position of trust and authenticity. And they figure that out. I think once you get in bed with them enough, they realize, hey, you're one of the guys that I can trust. Who can you help me with? I want to buy a car. I want to do this. I want to rent a yacht. And then you become like the consigliere of sorts in some ways, which can be good and bad, right? Because then we
Right.
always going off and we're not getting paid for these services, but it's what allows us to be successful in that arena. So I think, to answer your question really quickly, again, it's just and be concise about it. It's from a level of trust and teaching more than anything.
That's great. And that's a great approach. And that's what I like about you, Ben, too. There's a lot of things I like about you, but one of the things is that you are very, you're authentic. Like, this is who I am. And I think that's great. I think that's really, really good. And I also like the idea, and everybody on my team as well has the concept of, one of our rules of thumb is when a buyer is buying something, we want them to be as knowledgeable about the segment of the market that they're looking at as us. So when we both walk into a property, they're like, yeah, this is it, or this is great, grossly overpriced. What were they thinking when they listed it? That type of thing. How did you overcome, for argument's sake, like nervousness of these high profile people? Did that happen with you, or just the more exposure you had with them, or someone kind of starting out? What would you suggest?
I think for someone starting out is just to realize, we are all made of the same stuff. For me,
Mm-hmm.
I always think of myself as an athlete, as a jock, and I always played sports, although not in college and not professionally. But I said, these guys are just a little or a heck of a lot better than me. Probably a
Right.
lot better. But I kind of got over that. I did have that nervousness sometimes in the beginning, say, oh my gosh, I can't screw this up or this or that. But I think once
Mm-hmm.
we get out of our head, we realize being in our head like that is only going to lead to something negative. It's going to lead to us being anxious. maybe not getting enough sleep the day before an important property tour. I mean, I still have some of that stuff creep in. You know, I have not too long ago, I had to get a Sprinter van with a driver for the client, pick them up at the tarmac. And, you know, it's a little stressful. People don't realize, but if we don't have the right properties lined up at the right time, we don't want to have to make them wait too long. We want to get them right back to the tarmac right in time. You know, there's a level of stress associated with that, even for people like us that have been in the business for, you know, 20 plus years. I mean, we still feel those jitters because we want it to go perfectly. But I think if we can acknowledge that and use that as a positive to say, okay, let me make sure every little detail is accounted for on this property tour and this whole day goes perfectly. But sometimes, as we know, life's what happens when you're making plans and you just have to react. So the more present we are, the better we'll be able to handle the situations like when the light bulb burns out 30 feet in the air. We can't get up there and fix it right now. Well, let me call my guy. We're on it. You know, that kind of thing. And that light bulb wasn't one that I could just change. So it was a little bit, you know, more difficult. But I think that's the thing. The more we treat them like humans, they understand that. The more nervous we are, they also feel the nervousness. And the more present we are, the more we're able to deal with things that come up, because they always come up. And we're more centered and able to just, you know, focus on the task at hand.
That makes sense. So, and I think that's really helpful. The key point on is that we're all human, number one, and really know, you know, for lack of a better word, know your product, right? So, because if they're looking for you at the expert, I think that makes sense. And then, so kind of just the final question on this, or if there's any thoughts you wanted to add, and I know people have asked you this before, but if somebody is starting out and is attracted to, you know, this demographic, how do you get into I mean, you explained your story, which is kind of a unique story. Do you have any tips or advice for people who want to get into, you know, sports and entertainment or interacting with that client base?
Yeah, I'd say, you know, don't be somebody, first of all, who is the word will get out, you'll become known, you'll get the referrals, but you have to do it humbly, and you have to do it without ego and without trying to publicize yourself. There's many times where I'm with a star, whatever, and I'm saying, man, this is so cool. I wish I could just tell so many people about this, but let that thought go and don't do it. Don't post, don't ask for the selfie, don't do those things, because that's what's going to alienate you, especially with this crowd. But I think in general, like you've carved out for yourself, Martin, as well. I mean, for somebody starting off in the business, whether it's sports and entertainment, whether it's equestrian properties, whether it's historic homes, you know, whatever it is, I think find a niche and like you alluded to earlier, you know, become a product expert, know that craft, because people respect it, become like the rainmaker. You know, when I started off in office leasing, my mentor taught me something that was really valuable to me at the time. He said, look, man, you don't really have much to offer. I'm going to be straight up with you, but I want you to know who developed every office building. I want you to know who the tenants are. I want you to know how many square feet. I want you to know how well occupied they are. I want you to know every detail of every building, so that when you come to meetings, you know, if you don't learn this stuff now, you're not going to learn it later. You're going to be busy. And I was able to go to meetings and start kind of spouting out some things that were interesting, and people would look at me and say, oh, this guy's a rainmaker. I wasn't the rainmaker. I just had a lot of information. But, you know, if it's a market, you know every condo building, know who the developers are, know who the home builders are, understand quality finishes, learn about architectural styles. You know, all these things are important. And sometimes when you get busy, you know, you kind of gloss over some of those details. And for someone starting out, that's what you can do. And really learn and know that product, like you said.
That's great. I really appreciate that, Ben. I mean, I think that's it. Know your stuff, be humble, be authentic. And then I also, what I really like picking up from you is that, you know, a lot of these high profile people probably have so many people asking them for things, and everything that you've talked about has been about giving them things, right? I'm giving them knowledge. I'm giving them information. I'm not turning it into an expose. I'm treating them like a human. And I think that's all really great, great words of wisdom, Ben. So,
yeah,
so thank you.
For sure. One last thing more on that, as far as the teaching part, you know, I always ask the clients, maybe they don't want to have a conversation, but I always ask, do you understand, okay, you're financing this property. Has your financial advisor explained to you how a mortgage amortizes? Have they talked to you about why it's important to prepay, especially as a professional athlete, to prepay some principal in the early years of the mortgage, and why that matters? Because obviously they're only making money for a certain period of time. So even if they're taking out a 10-year loan or a 30-year mortgage or something like that, it's important for them to understand this stuff. I'd say 90% of the time, these guys have no idea even what I'm talking about, which means that their financial advisors, their sports agents are not discussing these things with them. And, I try to kind of teach them, and it depends on personality types, and you have to understand who you're dealing with and their level of attention to detail, and do they want to learn? Because some of them, they just don't care, and you can't really help some of those people. But I find that most of them do care. They want to know, they want to take accountability. They just don't know what they don't know. So if you can from the right perspective and not make them feel stupid or ignorant or dumb, but make them feel like, hey, I can learn something from this guy, and you do it in like bite-sized pieces and help them, they really appreciate that. So I think, again, it goes back to knowing the product, but that doesn't include just real estate. It includes financing, it includes appraisals, it includes running them through the process. Like, how does this process even work for a first-time home buyer?
Right.
That.
Wow. That's great, Ben. I really, that's true. So you're not only like in real estate, you're expanding on the outside. And look, you're teaching them to be adults. Like you said, oftentimes they come in young. And as they mature, it's a lot of pressure on them, a lot of learning in a short period of time.
Yeah.
So now shifting over to your knowledge base, the Miami market. So what's going on? How's it? Here in New York, we always joke that Miami is the sixth borough of New York City. A lot of transfer back and forth. So tell us a little bit about the market. What's going on?
Yeah, I would say that's especially true right now. I mean, probably a couple of years ago, I started seeing this. Probably 2 summers ago, I started seeing the first of the New Yorkers coming down because of the tax, the tax changes and everything else, tax law changes. So I started seeing that, and then since COVID, honestly, the market is hotter in South Florida now than it was in the start of the year. And what's interesting is that I'm actually having my best real estate year to date, even though we basically had to take 2 months off from showing properties. And a lot of that's attributable for me personally to the athletes that were in town that just didn't have a playing season all of a sudden and had money and were doing things and wanted to buy property. And the other part would be the New Yorkers coming down to South Florida. So it's a very strong market. So what's interesting right now is we haven't seen a lot of the new supply come on that I think people were holding, realtors were holding back supply, and sellers were holding back supply because they didn't want to list during uncertain times. Maybe pricing was going to flip, maybe no buyers would be able to come out and see. What we've seen is that the demand has been very strong in the last, let's say, 2 months since things started easing back up. And of course, now they're maybe closing back up a little bit, right? So it's in real time, it's hard to tell. But there's been a ton of demand. And so even at the very high levels, I mean, I just listed a property, which we'll take a look at here in a few minutes. $16 million 3 weeks ago, and I've had 9 showings so far. 9 showings. I mean, that wouldn't have happened pre-COVID. And I'd say half of those buyers, more than half of those buyers are actually from New York.
Interesting. Very interesting. So Miami, now just kind of, and again, I'm not an expert, but that's why I'm asking you. I'm asking the expert. Miami also traditionally is kind of the launching pad for South America if they want to get a foothold in the U.S. Are they still buying heavily, or are they on hold? And then also, I know that depending upon, the international flair, a lot of Europeans like to buy in Miami as well. Are you seeing, business from those 2 sectors coming in, or is that slowed down and the quote unquote New York or Northeast crowd is making up for that?
Yeah, so it's really there's many tales of different markets going on, but if we paint a broad brushstroke over it, as far as condos, back in 2015, when the US dollar appreciated relative to most of the other world currencies, we saw a dramatic drop-off of demand from international buyers, and those buyers were predominantly the ones buying condos in South Florida. And then we pair that with another wave of huge amount of condo inventory coming online. We saw the first wave happen 2004 to 2007 in that time frame. And then this last cycle, which is just ending right now as far as the delivery of all these condos, predominantly in the same areas, so greater downtown Miami, other areas like Aventura, Hollywood. There's been a little bit of, Miami Beach has not seen a lot of new inventory. You've seen some, but it's been much more high-end and much more boutique. So the absorption rate has been much better there. But when you look at the greater downtown area, Brickell, downtown, for those of you who know Miami well, Midtown, Edgewater, Design District, all these areas, there's different neighborhoods here, but it's, there's been basically like a 3-year supply in any of these buildings that you look at. And so there's a great opportunity to be a buyer of a condo in Miami right now. It's a very slow market. Most of the New Yorkers that are coming down are wanting to look at single family homes. And also many of the people who live in condos here are saying, I'm sick of being in my condo. I need to spread out. I want to get a single family home as well. So that market is just anything under $1 million. I listed a house just under $1 million on Monday. We had 8 offers by Tuesday. I mean,
Wow.
it's just unbelievable. And so the single family home market is on fire right now if it's priced well across any price point for the most part.
Interesting. Well, I'm finding I've heard the same thing in LA, that the condo market is soft, but single family is doing well. So with that, you wanna show us the first property, kind of what's entry level here in Miami for us, and what do you get, and all that fun stuff.
Yeah, I'm trying to share my screen, but if you can give me the screen sharing capability, Martin. I don't know if you have it on your side, but it's telling me.
Let me take a look. Jared, do you have that? Oh yeah, you're a co-host now. You should be able to.
All right, perfect. So yeah, so this property here, Athlete's property in Marshall, former NFL All-Pro wide receiver, and so this property is $4.65 million. Just to give you an example, I had 2 offers this week on this property. So we've submitted both offers between yesterday and today. So this house is a house that, pre-COVID had been shown, but probably one showing every 3 weeks on average. And then all of a sudden, since things started opening up again, I mean, we've had probably 10 showings in the last 3.5 weeks on this house. So this is a spectacular house. I mean, this is in a gated community called Landmark Ranch Estates. You've got a private theater. You've got 6 bedrooms, and you've got 4 different bonus rooms, including theater, a home office, man cave. This is an upstairs loft. This is the master bedroom. So anyway, just kind of shifting through here, but you're on 2.3 acres, and probably half. Here's the game room right here. So pretty amazing. Look at that custom pool table. That you got 4 TVs up there. You got a wet bar. And then obviously resort style pool with fire pit, waterfall, jacuzzi in pool. I mean, it's just, it's a pretty spectacular property. Full summer kitchen, and beyond the summer kitchen, you have the sports court. So this is going for $4.65 million, which, $324 per square foot. So if this
That's
house
incredible.
If this house was in Miami, first of all, you wouldn't get the 2.3 acres in a gated community. And if you did, I mean, this is probably a $15 million house in Miami. So crowd in Broward, comes up here because for $324 a square foot, you get this beautiful, amazing house. It's here, so taking a little while to load.
So yeah, no, that's okay. So just go back because it got a little fuzzy. So how far is this outside of Miami? Is it like an hour away?
So this is an area called Southwest Ranches. So it's basically Southwest Broward County. So depending on what part of Miami you're going to, this would be about, with no traffic, 30 minutes to 40 minutes from, let's say, South Beach or downtown Miami.
Okay, I gotcha. That makes sense. And what's the square footage on the house again?
So it's almost 15,000 square feet. It's 14,300 square feet on 2.3 acres. So it's a big one. It's one of the bigger ones out there.
That's incredible. And then quickly, how does kind of taxes work? Is it 1% of the purchase price or something like that, or how does taxes work down there?
Yeah, so usually the property is going to be assessed at about 70% of the tax assessor, 70% of the real market. At a certain price, they're going to assess it for probably 70% of the sale price. And then you would pay about 2% per year off of the assessed. So 70% and 2%.
Wow, that's a great value. You said you have something else for us as well?
Yeah, so let me find another.
That's amazing. 15,000 square feet for that price point on you said 2.4 acres?
Yeah, 2.3 acres. So here's another one. This one is in Miami Beach. This is the house that I mentioned has been shown many, many times just in the last 3 weeks. This is mid-beach location. And so we're asking just under 16 million for this one. And what's cool about this house is that it's a MIMO, Miami Modern house that was built in the 50s. And there you can see the aerial overlooking, mid-beach there. It's on an interior waterway which goes out to the ocean. But what's cool about it, you see the solar panels on that house. It's a flat roof, flat concrete roof, and this is the largest solar panel installation as of when this was put in about a year and a half ago for any house or any residential property in South Florida, as far as we're aware. So it's a very cool house. And then you've got a separate guest house, which is 4 bedrooms. This is the view of the front of the house at night. And then it's got, what's cool, it's got, terrazzo floors, true to the era. Back in the 50s, they built houses with terrazzo floors. You don't see the new modern contemporary houses coming up these days with terrazzo. It's going to be something else. And,
right.
But very open, and the kitchen opens up to everything. So this basically, what you're looking at is this is the kind of the open area living space of the house, but yet you've got about 8,000 square feet under air.
Wow. Under air meaning under air conditioning, right?
Under air conditioning, yeah. And then you've got another, yeah. And then in South Florida, obviously you gotta know how much you're getting as far as air conditioning. But then you've got another almost 5,800 square feet of exterior area, which is all like covered exterior areas. And you're on almost an acre. This is a view of the master bedroom, and you can see there the sliders lead into this amazing bathroom. And here's a shot from the bathroom leading out to the master bedroom there. So it's a spectacular property.
That's stunning. Absolutely stunning. And you have direct water access on the intercoastal, or basically one of the channels to the intercoastal to the ocean then?
Exactly. Yeah. And here's part of that covered area that I was mentioning, Martin, with, you've got 4 kitchens. So you've got a huge summer kitchen out here. You've got an indoor kitchen in the guest house, and then you've got the master kitchen in the main house, and then you've got a separate could be a kosher kitchen, if you will, in the main house as well.
Wow, that's amazing. It's stunning, and it looks like it's been completely restored. Do you know when they did the last renovation and everything?
Yeah, so the house was completely gutted in 2010, which is when these clients bought the property, and then they added the second floor of what you're looking at here is the guest house kitchen, and they added basically a gym upstairs. They added these staircase here, floating stairs, very cool, floating baseboards as well. They added this is the upstairs office. So the home office here overlooking the grounds. It's pretty spectacular. And they put the black terrazzo flooring in here. And then this leads out to an amazing cantilevered area where you can basically cover this entire area, all electronic, to make sure they're coming in on that TV. So it's pretty spectacular.
Wow, that's amazing. That's absolutely amazing.
And
do you have another property? Oh, go ahead, Ben. I'm sorry.
Sorry, Martin. What's that?
Do you have another property as well, or were these the 2 that you wanted to show?
Yeah, and then I've got, so this is more, let's say, the high end.
Okay.
What I wanted to show you.
Just have a few minutes.
This is another property this is a new listing in Plantation, which is similar in location, a little further north of the first one, Brandon Marshall's house. This house is 1.675 million, so it's on about an acre of land, but you can tell, I mean, these are all beautiful properties here, and these are some aerial and the owner is a builder, so he basically, I mean, he's got one of the most beautiful, spectacular pool areas that I've ever seen at any price point, for the most part here. Beautiful. I mean, the amount of money he spent on landscape design, and then you have a big grassy area as well. You can check out the herringbone. It's actually a herringbone marble tile. It's not a porcelain tile. So it's just, an unbelievable kitchen. I'm going through some of the shots here as well. So yeah, beautiful house. And this one is a 5-bedroom, 5.5 bathroom house, and it's about 4,400 square feet.
Wow, that's amazing. I mean, that's a great value as well. And again, so this you said is about an extra 10 minutes out. So you're in, downtown Miami or Miami Beach in like 40 minutes or so.
Yeah, this would be about 40 minutes from there. And then you're also, maybe 20 to 25 minutes from downtown Fort Lauderdale and the Fort Lauderdale airport.
Okay.
So,
beautiful.
It's not bad. And this one, from a price per square foot perspective, it's $377 per square foot. I mean, check out this bathroom. You don't have to spend a dime when you move into this house. I mean, it's completely turnkey in beautiful condition. There's a master bedroom. So Broward County, relative to Miami, is much more affordable.
Okay.
And so, you get a really good public school system there as well, and just more space, more land. So typically that's why, if you can work from anywhere, and we're seeing a lot of that right now with the people coming down. They're saying, well, why would I, for 1.675 million, I can't get anything close to this in Miami because I'd be spending, $550 to $600 a square foot. Whereas
Right.
in or Southwest Broward, I can buy something really nice in the 300s per square foot.
That's amazing. So that's almost half price. So
Yeah.
shockingly, it's already 1:30, Ben. These things always go so fast. But thank you so much for giving us some insight really on how to deal with clients and how to get involved with sports and entertainment and how to be authentic and be yourself and be knowledgeable on the product base. And thank you really for telling us what's going on in Miami. It sounds like some deals are in condos if you're looking to get down there. And I really appreciate you showing us stuff outside of Miami proper, if you will, right? That there's some real values on the outside, and as everybody's working from home or doesn't have to, it's great to hear those things are going on. Do you have any final thoughts or words before we
I appreciate you having me on with you, Martin. Great to spend time with you in your sphere. And I just wanted to mention a couple of these properties in Broward, because I think a lot of New Yorkers that are coming down here, they only think Miami. And I think it is important to broaden the horizons and see what kind of lifestyle you can live in Broward. There's a lot of economic development happening in downtown Lauderdale right now as well. So I'm very bullish on what's happening in that county. Obviously, I live in Miami, and I do a lot in Miami, but I'm very bullish on what's happening in Broward as well.
All right. Well, that's great. So thanks again. So we have Ben Moss here with Compass, head of the sports and entertainment division he is based out of Miami. Thanks. And then this is Martin Eiden with the Martin Eiden team with Ask the Expert. Thanks again, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ben.
Thanks, Jared. Thanks, Martin.